Hanjo. How you doing, guys? Watch out for those leaves. I'll take you around. My mirror got bumped into. There we go. I don't need to look at myself. Always check these things before you take off. I mean, typically my mirrors are so... Anyway, I've been better about cleaning them up. Yeah, I'll put it that way. What's up, guys? Here we go. How you go, fellas? Get your license. This is the point where everybody who knows me by car but doesn't know me by bike, when I come up this street, they think, oh no, these guys are moving into town. Bikers. No, it's just me. You just don't recognize me. Man, I'm allergic. Look at that tree. I'm allergic to something every season. So here we are in fall. Finally, I'm done with my springtime allergies. Just in time for my autumn allergies. The fun thing about now and climate change is that some things are lasting longer. Just kind of irritating. You don't believe in climate change? Ask my Zyrtec. I don't take Zyrtec. I can't remember what I take. Just some cheapo knockoff. But I'll tell you what, man. Makes a difference. Makes a difference. All right, here we go. Here we go. I got no advice for you today. I think sometimes I give too much advice. Do I give too much advice? Let me advise you, when you're considering giving advice. Wait, is that, am I doing? All right, never mind. You know what? I don't even know where I'm going right now, which I think that's fine. Let's go up here. I'm on a foliage hunt. I'm in southwest suburban Boston area, and a lot of people flee and they go way up to New Hampshire. I prefer to just wait a week, and the foliage comes to me. The trees don't have to move or nothing. They stand where they are, and they just change. It's awesome. Just wait a week. How is it where you guys are? Do you have leaves that change colors? Not everybody does, I suppose. I'm thinking about it now. Yeah, see, all right, here's where like a smart person or a person who edits their videos, this is where we might start rolling. Or we would have chopped out the first hey kids, get off of my lawn. We'd chop off the first 5 minutes of this. Start fresh. But yeah, speaking of trees, you know, my parents are having a tree cut down in their yard, and that tree's been in the yard since I moved in there. I don't live there anymore, but I still visit often. And so my family moved there in 1978. So I was 4 years old at the time, and so I remember that tree. That tree's been there. It's not an ent, so it's been in the same place my whole life. You know, since 1978. So it's interesting because I experienced a feeling of sorrow at the prospect of this tree getting cut down, which is an interesting feeling for a plant. You know, when you think about plants, when you think about trees in particular, a good tree will outlast you by a while. You know what I mean? There's that expression, like, what is it? Plant a tree you'll never sit under, something like that. You know, the idea, it's like you're thinking about the next generation, not thinking about yourself. It's very un-American. You're not thinking about yourself and what you can accrue for yourself or whatever, but it's thinking about the next generation and what you're passing down. And so I think about the trees that used to be in my parents' yard that are gone. And so if you think about their backyard as somewhat of a rectangle, you know, the bottom corner of it here, it was blocked off from the rest of the yard by a really nice row of tall pine trees. So they made a nice natural fence between the yard and the road, and then sort of one by one they reached their maturity and had to come down. And you know when a pine tree has to come down. It should be pretty obvious if you're paying attention. So those pine trees, they were planted around the same time, and they all died within a decade of each other. There were probably 7 of them or so. Might have been more. But yeah, when they came down, it really changed. And now I used to climb the one closest to the house. I used to be able to get all up in there, and I could kind of have a private view of nothing. Actually, my town was real quiet, so a good view of nothing. But I was up there, just the squirrels, getting sap in all my hand grooves. It takes 7 days to wash it all out. And then eventually I buried a rabbit under one of the trees once. We found a dead rabbit, and I didn't want to just hum it in the woods, so I buried it. It was probably dug up, later that night by a creature and eaten, but I did my due diligence and I put it in the earth. And but those trees are gone. Some of their roots are still attracting carpenter ants. Some of them are still kind of up a little bit, and you go, oh, we got to be careful in the lawnmower. But for the most part, all evidence, if you're not familiar with the yard, you never know they were there. And next to the tree that's coming down in a few days was another tree. It was not a birch, but it bent over kind of like a birch. How like a birch is kind of a real flexible tree, and you can kind of haul down on it. And especially thank you for cutting the corner. You are a angel. When you're if it's kind of new, they're springy, you can hang down on it, bend it down, and sometimes they'll stay down. There's a poem, I think it might be a Robert Frost poem, called, is it Bending Birches? I don't know, whatever. It wasn't a birch, but it bent over to the side, right next to the tree that's coming down now. And it was a really appealing tree to a kid because it looked really climbable. And I was too young to climb it, but I knew, like, hey, maybe next year, maybe the year after, I'll be big enough, strong enough that I can climb it and go out and sit on it. It made kind of like a bridge. And it was probably the summer before I was strong enough to climb it. It came down because it was leaning precariously over the shed. And so it had to come down. Yeah, but I still remember the tree. I remember it being there. I can picture it. And, there's still, you got to watch out because there's a place where the stump was. You don't want to hit that with a mower. And, it's just interesting to think about. And the tree that's coming down, was just a small maple tree. And now it's a really nice mature maple. Beautiful leaves in the fall. But it is aiming at the house. And if we're to get a good hurricane this year or next, there's a chance it could come down on the house, and it's big enough that it would do quite a bit of damage. So it's got to come down. It's got to come down. But I remember, my brother-in-law coming over and hooking ropes up to it so we could swing our kids along and give them a good swing. I remember, I don't even know what it was, a raccoon or some kind of wild beast came down out of it behind my grandmother once, probably 20 years ago, we had a barbecue or something. She was sitting down there in a chaise lounge, and then out of the tree, like some kind of cartoon menace, Tasmanian devil, came this creature right out of the tree right behind her. None too pleased that she was sitting down there, yeah, I'll tell you that. And there's just that, and the tree's also has acted for many years as a good boundary, a good, I should say, a good fence, holding the woodpile in place. So it's one end of the woodpile leans against it, and one leans against the very large white pine, about 10 feet away from it, and in between rests the woodpile. So the woodpile's going too. The wood is we pretty much lost this whatever's left of it, about a quarter of a cord maybe, and it's all wet, and you can't burn it. It's just turning into humus pretty much. Yeah. And so sunlight changes, the plants that can grow change, your lawn changes, when you take a tree down. I think in this case the amount we have to rake is going to change for sure. It's quite a large mature maple, and so the leaves that come out of it will fill a house, and but no more. And it's an interesting thing to take down a tree that's in its prime. There's something, like I said, there's something kind of mournful about it, something kind of sorrowful about it. And I think it's the unavoidable metaphor, of how much like our lives a tree is, or vice versa, how tree-like our lives are. And you start out as a seed, you don't know nothing, and you just hopefully your conditions are right, and you grow, and you affect those around you, and if you're living right, you're kind of providing shade, and and then when a person passes away, it leaves a change in the scenery, and it's kind of a ripple effect, and you don't know the things that will be affected when a tree's cut down until some seasons roll by. And you certainly don't know, even people you don't know too well, sometimes you don't know what kind of reverberations there'll be a year, 2 years down the road, in a case like that. So that's maybe what I've been thinking about. Maybe I've been a little too wrapped up in metaphor looking at this tree. It is just a plant, but it was a good one, and it's grown all my life, from long before I was born, and it's got some years remaining in it, but for the axe, it's like a Rush song. Hey, how much farther are you gonna creep out here? Go ahead, you got it. Yep, that's not, it was Matthew McConaughey in that Lincoln, sitting in the back seat with the purple lights, having his acid trip or whatever's going on in those old commercials. And I'm happier about waving them on, but it's just a crotchety old lady just being pushy. I'm not a fan of that. Keep it moving. All right, guys. Hey, someday she'll die, and the reverberations, forget it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I'm gonna leave it at that, and I will talk to you guys soon. Maybe with less morbid depression. Does that sound good? All right, Matt the Greeter. Care about you. Bye.